far exceeded, and he's going to share that story with you guys. So pretty powerful, man. Give my good friend Dan Kleckner a round of applause.
Appreciate it, dude. Awesome. Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate Jason giving me the time to speak with you guys today. Hopefully you'll get some good tips and advice out of this. Like Jay said, I'm not any different than you guys. I was at this mentorship 5 years ago, and honestly, when I came into this mentorship, I didn't even really know if I wanted to open up my own gym. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was stuck at a gym where I was training split shifts just like everyone else, working long hours, long days. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Came to the mentorship, went through it, got to experience the other mentorees that were with me, and by the end of it, everybody, Jay included, was like, why aren't you running your own business? Why aren't you not doing this? And it just took them to instill that confidence in me to be like, yeah, why aren't I doing this? Why can't I put these big, ambitious goals out there? Why can't I dream big like Jay says? What is stopping me from doing that? So from that point, I started to establish a plan, obviously, and the biggest thing I can tell you guys about the mentorship, the biggest take home is you guys are going to get flooded with information. There's going to be a crazy amount of information. It's going to be overloaded. It's going to be emotional, all that kind of stuff. Just take one or two things and implement that on Monday. I mentor a lot of coaches now, a lot of business owners, and the biggest problem I see is they go to all these seminars, they get all these knowledge, they figure out how to do more technical stuff with their kettlebells, with their Indian clubs, whatever it is, but they don't implement any of that stuff on Monday. They just take in that knowledge, but they don't actually have a plan of action from that, right? So my biggest advice to you guys is just pick one or two things on Monday, whatever it is, just get the ball rolling and figure out one or two steps of things that you can attack on Monday after this mentorship, right? So I'm gonna backtrack real quick. This is just to kind of hit home the point to you guys that I am no different than any of you guys in this room. So before I was at the gym I was at before the mentorship, I got fired out of my first training job out of college, and it honestly took me a little while to be able to share that story. Like, I realized there's a lot more bigger life tragedies that happen than getting fired, but at that time it was an emotional thing, and the reason I didn't share that story for a long time is because there's a lot of emotion that comes with being fired. I was embarrassed. I had just gotten married, and I felt like I was letting my family down. There's a lot of emotion that came with that, and so once the dust settled with all that, I had to figure out what's my next plan of attack. And the biggest thing that I figured out is I had to be the dumbest person in the room. I had to seek out mentors in my life, follow their path. I didn't need to reinvent the wheel. A lot of times the coaches that I work with, they try to reinvent the wheel, like, this is my way, this is how we've always done things, or they'll come up with the excuse that that program doesn't work in my market, it can't work here, it can't do there. And they just have all these excuses, but you have to realize that there's guys like Jay, there's guys like other mentors in my life, Thomas Plummer, Rick Mayo, these guys that have been there and done that. They know the steps to get you to being successful. So why try to reinvent the wheel? Why don't you just follow their path? Obviously, you got to tweak it on your own. You're not going to copy them 100%, but take the advice of these mentors. Be the dumbest person in the room. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, and then build your own path to success from there. So these are the two gyms I own. I don't show this just to be cool, like, hey, I have these successful gyms, whatever. The reason I show you these is I want you guys to see that it's possible to own these businesses and run these businesses and not have them be relying upon you at all. So the gym I own in Kirkland, Cutting Edge Fitness, I train probably about 5 hours a week at that gym. The rest of the time I'm doing is business stuff. The gym I own in Montana, Kinetic Fitness, I own with a business partner, granted, but I go to that gym probably once a year. So there is a path to be able to not have the business relying upon you. I want you guys to get around the mind frame that you don't have to be that guy that trains 40 hours a week or treats patients 40 hours a week. It's about building a team, and it's about building the systems in place that can create this financially successful vehicle. And for me, it's not even about the money and the finances. I have certain financial goals. I think that's a big thing to have. But the two biggest things for me for owning these gyms is having to have the financial freedom where I can go take a trip with my family and not have it burden me. I can go do whatever I want with my finances. I'm not a big, like, go buy a new Tesla or a new car or anything like that, but I want to have the financial freedom to be able to have experiences with my family. And the other thing is I want to be able to have the time freedom. I want to be able to take off on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock and go to my son's soccer game, or take a day off and go take my family up to the water slides. You know, whatever it is, I need that vehicle to be able to create the financial and time freedom to be able to do what I want. And that was a big change for me with this mentorship and going through it, is I had to figure out, how do I create this vehicle that is sustainable without me being there? And how do I be able to do that and have a good work-life balance? Because I think so many of us get caught up in the fact that we're working, we're grinding, we're making good money, that's great, but then where does that work-life balance come? And maybe some of you guys aren't at that point in your life, but when you start to have kids, get married, and that becomes an important thing to you, you'll want to be able to create that work-life balance so that you can have that time with them and not be bogged down at your gym or your office or whatever it is, 14 hours a day. This is my team. I always show this real quickly just because these are the guys that are the reason that I can come here and do these presentations. So last week I was in Baltimore for 4 days. I was doing a presentation with the NFBA and Thomas Plummer over there, so I was only in my gym 2 days. This week I came down to do this stuff with Jay. Was only in my gym about 3 days this week, and the only reason I can do that is because of these guys. These guys allow me to be able to be out of my gym, not worry about it, not worry about that things are going to go broken if I'm not there. And so to me, it's all about having the right team, and they allow me to be able to do this. This last year, my wife and I, my parents ended up watching our kids. We ended up taking a last-minute, just week trip down to Bora Bora, which was an amazing experience, but it was something I could have never done if I didn't have a team in place, didn't have the systems in place. I didn't check my email once during that trip, didn't even get on the internet, online or anything like that. And the only reason I was able to do that is because of these guys and being able to have the systems in place that allow them to flourish and kind of run the business for me. I still have my blueprint, my thumbprint on everything in the business, right? But these guys are able to kind of run everything for me when I'm gone. So today, the biggest thing I want to hammer home with you guys is, in my opinion, the 5 steps of how to create a financial business. We're going to look at it more from the gym lens. That's kind of my background, obviously fitness. But to me, these steps honestly are things that carry over to the medical side of things, massage, golf coaching, whatever it is. In my opinion, these are kind of the 5 big steps that you need to start to look at to create a financially successful gym or business. And the biggest take home I want you guys to get with this is just to kind of re-wrap your mind around and re-framework of how you guys look at things, right? So it's all about problem solving. With these things, I want you to take in mind with these 5 things and figure out just 1 or 2 of them where you might be struggling in your business, and that's the first thing that you should attack on Monday, right? So if I have a lead acquisition problem, I'm not getting enough new leads in the door, that's where I start on Monday. I start getting really good in developing a plan about lead acquisition. If my sales isn't good, I start with sales. If my retention isn't good, I start with retention. So we're going to kind of go through those 5 steps. And for me, only having to train 5 hours a week, it allows me to then problem solve in the morning and start to solve these stuff, because there are always going to be things in the business that need to be solved. So for me, I wake up in the morning, I spend 2 or 3 hours of going through these things. Okay, what's not working today? We haven't got any leads in the last 2 days. So today all I'm going to work on is leads. I'm going to send out emails. I'm going to call old clients. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get leads in the door. But all my time in the morning to start my day is figuring out, of these 5 steps, what are the things that I need to fix for that day, right? And one more thing with that is I'm a big proponent of numbers and KPIs, and we're going to go over that stuff in a sec. But for me, I'm a big believer in tracking numbers daily. So in our office, we have a huge number and lead board. It shows every lead we got for the day, sales we got for the day, what was our revenue for that day. And instead of waiting, I used to wait till the end of the month and then try to solve those problems. And it's kind of doable that way, but it's a lot more challenging to do it at the end of the month than it is to react to those numbers daily. So if I say my goal is to get 30 leads in for the month, that's 1 a day. I go on Wednesday, we got 0 leads. It's 2 o'clock. Okay, what am I doing? I got to get a lead today. I'm going to text somebody. I'm going to call somebody. I'm going to do whatever I do. But you have to react to those numbers daily. I think a lot of people make the mistake of reacting to those monthly, and I think that really slows down your growth as opposed to reacting daily. So the first thing is lead acquisition. Everybody's going to be a little different on this depending on what your scope of practice is, but for us, our goal in the gym industry, in my gyms, any of the ones I own, any of the guys I consult with, is just 30 leads a month, so 1 lead a day. For us, it works out to end up being about 30% of those leads typically come from referrals, and about 70 come from social media. Like Chris, I was talking, there's different ways you can do your marketing.